Drudge Report, some talk radio show hosts, others, they're basically suggesting, without saying it explicitly, some of them actually are saying explicitly, that Ted Cruz intends to steal the nomination from Donald Trump. He's going to steal it. You know, first of all, I find really ironic that all the people who say we're a republic, we're not a democracy, are now upset that their democratic rights are being trampled upon. But beyond that, what's happening here is that Ted Cruz is using the rules to his advantage. Now, Donald Trump says regularly that he hires top men. He hires those top men, and they give him the best advice. They give him great advice. They give him huge advice. No one gives Donald Trump better advice than the men Donald Trump hires, because Donald Trump only hires the best. According to the New York Times today, they told Donald Trump this race was going to be over after South Carolina. Yeah, back in February, the race was going to be over. Well, guess what? They completely underestimated the level of opposition to Donald Trump. They never invested in people to go out and find the delegates. So here's what you need to understand about this process. It's not stealing, it's using the rules to Cruz's advantage. Something Donald Trump has routinely bragged about himself being able to do, and yet he's incapable of doing it here. Maybe it's the small hands. What happens is the people go out and vote. Like in Georgia, we had a primary, and they go vote. And they say in the Republican primary, we want the Republican delegates in Georgia on the first ballot at the Republican convention to vote for Donald Trump. Well, what happens if Donald Trump can't get to 1237? The rules say he's got to get to a majority, just like in the Electoral College. Someone's got to get to 270 Electoral College votes. If not, it goes to the House. Well, if Donald Trump can't get to 1,237 delegates, which is a majority of the delegates, 50 plus 1, well then, it's got to go to the floor for a discussion. So what Ted Cruz has done is he has gone and he has actually worked to find the delegates who will go to the convention and make sure they're his people. So in Arizona, for example, Donald Trump won the vote. So on the first ballot, Arizona's delegates will have to, they are bound to, required to vote for Donald Trump. But after that, if he can't get to 1237, they're on their own. They've got to make up their own mind who to vote for. Well, Ted Cruz has been working the convention process to make sure the delegates who are going to the convention are his people. Same in North Dakota. He won, I think, 24 of 25 of the delegates, or roughly 20 to 20, somewhere over 20 of 25 delegates are Ted Cruz. In Colorado, it's happening. In Georgia, it's happening. Around the nation, in Tennessee as well, Donald Trump is calling foul about this. All Ted Cruz is doing is finding delegates and working within the local party conventions to make sure the delegates who are going to Cleveland are people inclined to support him. So on the first ballot, they will all be required to vote for Donald Trump. But if Donald Trump can't get to 1,237 delegates, well then on the second ballot, they're on their own. It goes to the floor. The delegates themselves have to vote their conscience, not the way their state told them, because a majority couldn't go for that guy. So now they've got to come up with it on the floor there. They can't go back and say, hey, let's have another statewide vote. No, they decided on the floor. They're the delegates to the convention. And there's something else. You see, you know how when a congressional session expires, a piece of legislation that hasn't been reintroduced has to be reintroduced? When the House reconvenes after a 2-year session, they have to re-vote on a rules package? Well, the same thing happens with the convention. The convention rules from 2012 don't apply to 2016. That's parliamentary. That's Robert's Rules of Order 101. They have to have a rules committee to draft the rules for this convention. So Trump may get to 1,237, but it's going to be Ted Cruz's delegates writing the rules. Folks, that's not stealing it. That's using the rules to your advantage as they apply right now. That's using the process. If Donald Trump isn't smart enough to understand the Republican Party process, that's not Ted Cruz's problem. That's Donald Trump's problem. And he's just going to have to deal with it when he gets to Cleveland. Because, well, that's the way the rules are.